might have a moral line. It's like, I won't do this. And then you come into a certain situation where the order is cross that line, whatever it takes. And in the end, there are none. They've just blurred away. And then you lose your own center. You lose your own compass. What is a sociopath? And we went through, the characteristics of Martian, and he was ticking a lot of the boxes. And of course, it's a good attribute for this job.
I think that the second screen writing is incredibly bleak. And, if we want to just absolutely destroy what's left of our attention spans, then that's the way to do it,
Hi everyone, it's Philip in London in front of the US Embassy in London, which doubles as the CIA London station in the series The Agency. This week we're going to feature several interviews with the stars of this amazing show. The second season is about to start. We had Richard Gere before, and this time it's Katherine Waterston and Michael Fassbender who tell me how much the show really mirrors the geopolitical climate and if it's a coincidence or not. It's Quotable.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Great to see you again.
Well, we've done this before. I was going to say, you look familiar, yeah.
You were sitting with Jeffrey back then. Very happy to have you here, Catherine, now.
Is it an improvement or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
He'll say that.
Jeffrey. Who are the legs behind you?
No,
That's actually from a James Bond exhibition.
Ah.
A very different thing. So we're going to talk about serious spy stuff today. Even though the show isn't set exactly in the present day, I understand, it taps into a lot of current fears and tensions. So intended or not, do you think the agency somehow mirrors the current geopolitical climate?
I think it's only natural that it would. I mean, I think the idea is, a lot of research went into what this world is like and how it operates and the people that are sort of, occupying it, the people that are in this universe. So I think by nature, if it is close to the real thing, it is going to mirror what's going on. In terms of what's happening in Iran, I mean, we wouldn't have necessarily foreseen any of that. But just in terms of what's going on geopolitically in the world, there are going to be things that will cross over, hopefully, if it's doing its job,
Catherine, it feels as much psychological drama about identity and relationships as it is a traditional spy thriller. As someone watching it, I feel that it makes me care much more about the different characters because they're not just shallow. There's so much about them, even though we know so little about them. So is that something that makes it more interesting as an actor as well?
Definitely. It's something I so admire about what the writers have achieved in this season. How much time they're able to give to the characters and the characters' development, and without shortchanging the sort of heart-racing momentum of the plot of the season. I think it's very enlivening for us all on set that we have the responsibility to reveal the intricacies of our characters while telling the story. And they give us fun twists and turns, and all the characters are quite eccentric in their ways. The result of doing this work, perhaps, or what made them well suited to the work. I think it makes the scenes more dynamic and really fun to play when you have these interesting characteristics to reveal.
Thinking about what they have to do, the show somehow suggests that people doing this line of work almost have to suppress parts of their conscience and emotions in order to function. Do you think that's accurate? That's true what these people have to do?
Definitely.
Michael?
I'm not sure. I think,
How dare you disagree with me?
Yes, well, as you see, our characters are very different. I think, you embrace what is happening. I think, for especially for my character, I mean, it's different now because he's back, in the office. But certainly if he creates his legend, whatever emotionality he has as Brandon, he's going to then infuse it into his legend as opposed to trying to create a new emotional sort of base. I think if you're trying to suppress something, that could be a tell. So I think you try and sort of embrace what's happening and make it the reality of what the situation is. And I think in terms of like the consciousness, I think for me, what I looked at is like what I love about the Martian and Gremlin is like I imagine that Martian used to be Gremlin, you know, and this is what he's become. And this is, you know, for her, she's watching and she's, you know, as it goes on, I think the penny drops for her. This is what the job is. And I think for me, it was more about a moral compass. That starts to dissolve, I think, you know, because you might have a moral line. It's like, you know, I won't do this. And then you come into a certain situation where the order is cross that line, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to survive in a certain situation. So you start crossing these moral lines that you've drawn at the beginning. And in the end, there are none. They've just blurred away. And then you lose your own center and you lose your own compass.
I agree with what he said. That makes sense.
So you're changing?
I've
I like
been
that. I like that
swayed.
about
I've
you.
been
I love
swayed.
that.
I think it's obviously, I think, you know, my character is navigating a sort of mid-level position. And so I think there is a feeling that there is a time and a place a little bit for some personality traits. And so I think that she is doing that. But I remember talking to real spies, and they talked about as much of the truth as you can infuse the lie with, it's going to be a lot more palatable and believable. And that really did surprise me, because you imagine these people are just the masters of deception and they can sit so comfortably in the lie. But actually the thing that makes it easier is finding all the truths within the lie to help sort of buoy you. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that was something that I found interesting in season 1 with Martian. He tells these lies that are necessary, you know, to his daughter, that some guy from South Africa used to live in the place, and I think he's an artist. And I was like, why did he tell her that? And it was like also one of the tricky things that I was like, how to play this character, where you let the audience know that it's a tell or the other people in the thing, but a lot of it's just straight. So whatever's being said is the reality for him, and therefore the reality in the room. Never to show anything to anybody, and in a way he's sort of just stuck in this sort of like neutrality and preserving that. And that was like, in terms of performance, that was the bit that I found sort of trickiest, you know, where you let the audience, you know, the wink to the audience or not, you know. So then in the end it's like, what is truth and what is lie for him? You know, and where, you know, in his own mindset, where does that lie? And for me, they were both of equal relevance, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's probably a particular challenge to play characters that are constantly pretending something and having these hidden agendas and different layers and half-truths and whatever. There's so much left, unspoken or said without words, that I guess for you it must be quite challenging, Catherine, to just put on an extra, I don't know how you would even call it. I mean, as an actor, you're known to pretend to be someone, but now you've got to pretend somebody who pretends to be somebody.
Well, it's actually the beauty of a big ensemble show. You know, you give the actors so much to do, even though we're all kind of coming in and out of this world, except for Michael, who just works his tail off all hours of the day. But the rest of us, we come in and out. And I don't think it would talk about it that much in the press, but one of the great challenges as an actor I've found is playing supporting roles, because when you're playing a lead, everybody gives you so much attention. Like, how did you do all of that? But actually, in many ways, not to downplay your efforts here at all, but in some ways, it's definitely more exhausting, but it is also easier in the sense that you remain in the flow. And when you're playing a supporting character, you kind of have to get yourself there all the time and get used to the crew again. You maybe been away 3 days and that flow is broken. But we are given such a gift with these characters here that there's so much going on for all of them, and that really roots you back into the world. And it's much, much, much harder to have very little to do in a scene than it is to have a great deal going on. So I've loved it. I've loved the layers and playing them and choosing, when it's necessary to play them, because it would also be tiresome to watch a show where everybody is so complex in every moment. You also have to be easy sometimes. It's one of the things I love about working with Michael, is that he's always like singing some really annoying song that will like get stuck in your head for like 7 days. But there was this great actor. I'm like turning this into like a Screen Actors Guild acting interview.
What was his
But
name again?
I can't remember the actor's name, but I love the story. He kept his pet mouse in his costume. He was a stage actor. And it meant that his mind was just also a little bit somewhere else.
Somebody sat on his jacket once.
He'd feel it, moving under his lapel or something. And it would just take his mind a little bit away. And I feel like working with Michael does that for me. So
I'm like a little mouse in your
because
jacket.
he'll put, exactly.
It's a bit like Bosco with his figure.
With his figure. Yeah. So it's really wonderful to have rich characters, but it's also important to remember when to just relax and throw it away. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I always try and find like that space of you want to be focused but relaxed, and not thinking. That's always the kind of sort of mantra I try and use going into a scene.
One thing I would like to ask, which you mentioned before. So, did you guys, in preparation for the show, speak to actual spies? So how did that work? They probably didn't show their faces to you, or did they?
I got faces.
Yeah, they did.
Did you get faces?
I got one face. I spoke to one guy at the beginning of season 1. And because there was somebody that I was speaking to, but he wasn't giving me like the dirt, I wanted to find out, that the sort of things that might seem like a negative characteristic, but basically it was like, what is a sociopath? And we went through, the characteristics of Martian, and he was ticking a lot of the boxes. And of course, it's a good attribute for this job. And so that was a big revelation for me, that he would have had those characteristics within him. And then for this season, I just watched a lot of documentaries on double agents. And the tricky thing for me was that a lot of those guys, turn to drugs or drink. And Martian doesn't have any of that in his life. So I was thinking, where's his Achilles heel? What is it that, what is his drug? And I thought, in the end, for me, it was fun for him to go back out in the field. Because I was like, now he looks like he's relaxed. Now he's a different flowing person. Whereas in the office, he's an uncomfortable animal. He's putting on a performance in the office. And actually, he's more natural out in the field.
It was reported recently that some streaming platforms are changing the way shows are made to optimize them for background watching. I personally find that a bit depressing. Luckily, the agency is the opposite, because it feels like if you miss 2 minutes, you already have lost something really important, and I really enjoy that. Do you think it's maybe a bit mistaken? Do audiences still want demanding storytelling? Please say yes.
I think more than ever, as they're getting less of it. I think a lot of people don't appreciate the second screening writing that's spelling out and repeating plot lines for 5 minutes. And what's interesting is it's not the kind of show, I don't think, where if you check out for 2 minutes you necessarily miss something really important. You might miss something really interesting. And I think so that's a pleasure, and everybody enjoys proper quality entertainment. And when you're continuing to watch because new interesting things continue to happen episode by episode, that's a pleasure I think that people still really have. I think that the second screen writing is incredibly bleak. And if we want to just absolutely destroy what's left of our attention spans, then that's the way to do it.
But I think that's a good point with this show. The writing is it's very detailed and it's intelligent writing. And I think a lot of people think, oh, I missed something
Do
there.
I have to work
But you
really
don't
hard?
actually have
Yeah.
to work.
Mhm.
But it's written in a way that forces you to lean in, which is nice because it keeps your attention. But it will reveal itself as it goes on. You don't need to necessarily
fret.
catch
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the way that they write, the Butterworth brothers, that sort of it forces an audience to lean in, which is a good thing because they have to work a little bit as well, you know, in a good way, you know, because now we've got so many things, our phones primarily or whatever, you know, where it's like you could be texting and watching something at the same time. That's just the way the world is now and how we live, you know. So it's nice to have something that sort of draws in your focus.
So maybe an ensemble show, the sort of the beauty of it is that it does kind of cater to contemporary audiences who are used to having a lot of variety, which is maybe why they go to their phone in the middle of a show. I don't know. But, you know, you look up, if you look down and look up, you've gone from, you know, Iran to London to, you know, Africa. You're like, you know, you're moving. You're gonna be satiated for variety. This is so bleak. This conversation, it's so bleak.
Thank you for this interview. I really enjoyed the first season. I've seen half of the second, loved it. So I'm going to binge more tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
you.
Philip.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. Maybe you want to give it a thumbs up. And there's plenty more videos that you might enjoy. This one, for instance, or this one. So check those out. Thank you. It's Quotable.